He was in the service from 1940 to 19... Okay, I'm Sam, and I'm with Ed Pettersen. He was in the U.S. Army. He achieved the rank of sergeant. He was in the service from 1940 to 1945, and he was in the Pacific. Ed, what specifically were you trained to do while you were in the Army?
Well, we were trained for anti-aircraft. We had almost a year of training in Camp Stewart, Georgia, for a year on 40 millimeters, 40 mm, and 50 caliber machine gun, water-cooled machine gun. And then, of course, we had to learn a little bit about jungle training, but that was later. And a gun crew like this here, gun crew, consisted of 17 men. A sergeant, 2 corporals, and about 14 men. This is when we were overseas and when we were training in Georgia. Yeah. That's
Right.
what you
What were,
had to do.
what were some of the major campaigns you were involved with?
Yeah. Well, the first one was Guam.
Right.
A lot of casualties there.
Oh, yeah.
After that, I had so many experiences there, but you don't want me to go into that.
Go ahead.
Next is the Philippine Islands, Leyte Gulf, Leyte.
Right.
The Ryukyus, R-Y-U.
It's fine.
Just south of Japan.
Yeah. There we go. That's right.
No landing there, just firing. Next was I.E. Shima,
Yeah.
I-E-S-H-I-M-A, which was not too many miles away from Okinawa.
Okay.
We were supposedly be there to protect the back door of any involvement on Okinawa, but the Japs might try to do something.
What was it like on Guam?
Huh?
What was the life like on Guam?
Where was it?
No, what was the life like on Guam?
Oh.
What'd you do specifically on Guam?
Very, very hot. And what can I say about it? I can tell you this, that I had my gun position there ready to fire on any Jap planes coming in. And good golly, one day I come by, get back on my gun, and I see this horse being led by a soldier and a rope, from here maybe 3 or 4 blocks, with the natives blind as a bat.
Okay.
They'd been living in caves for a couple of years.
Wow.
They lived down there, they died down there, they gave birth down there. And after our forward troops secured most of the island, and they came out, and I never saw anything like it. They're just holding on, little children, grandparents, parents, and I'm losing track now. And and I was wondering what happened to them. I know they went into a compound not far from us, a barbed wire compound, and there they sat. I went down the road to see them. And next thing you know, we're picking up our equipment and loading onto a ship again, and we're heading for Leyte Gulf.
Nice. Where were you and what went through your mind on December 7th, 1941?
Yeah. I was down in camp in Georgia, just outside Savannah. That's where Camp Stewart is. It's now called Fort Stewart. And I'm pitching a football. We're playing touch tackle, a bunch of us.
Mm-hmm.
And geez, next thing I know, I hear radios all over in the tents, what we call pyramidal tents. They're square, and they come to a point. You've seen the canvas come up. You see a mile of them sometimes. But we only had, for our battery, we were Battery E in the 7th Artillery, Regiment Artillery. And, my God, it's this Pearl Harbor. I know a lot about geography, I do now, but I thought, what is this Pearl Harbor?
Oh, yeah.
Believe me, it sounds stupid. And sure enough, that's what I picked up. And what went through my mind? Well, I thought, well, with the work we've been doing, the practicing we've been doing, I guess I'll be hitting the islands, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I think within 2 weeks, they asked for volunteers from a machine gun battery and artillery, which was one and the same with my group. And so I lived on Staten Island in New York, right in the New York Harbor in Staten Island. And I thought, boy, if I get up there, I can see my folks. And I was supposed to be, for the time being, on rooftops of the Army base. They're like big factory buildings. So we'd be on the roof with 50 caliber machine guns, anticipating, I don't know why they anticipated, they'd be attacking the U.S., New York, or what have you. And we were soon taken from there and put on board ships. And I was put on a Graceland ship, the Santa Lucia, and there were others, Santa Clara, Santa this, Santa that. And a lot of my buddies that I had in my battery, they went to other ships. And while we were going down the Atlantic coast, we'd be waving to each other, you know. No, I thought the first thing would be hitting the islands more than anything. Before I know it, I'm on board ship doing protecting the troops down below decks. What was going through your mind? Is that sufficient, you think?
That's fine. Did your family know what you were doing? What you were doing in the war? Did your families know what you were doing?
Yeah, I was home one period, a year and down in Georgia. Came home for a short period. They knew I was in anti-aircraft. And by the way, my father is a Norwegian. Came from Norway. At age 16 in 1914. He was naturally not a citizen yet, getting his papers and all. And here he is in the U.S. Army. He was drafted. And he went in the trenches of France, and he was on what they call a BAR man, Browning automatic rifle. And it's on a tripod. And it's just like a machine gun. You can operate it any way you want. Another guy's feeding it. And
Get back to Ed.
Hmm?
Get back to Ed.
To Ed?
Talk about yourself.
What do you mean, Ed?
You.
Yeah. Oh, get back to me. We got 5 Eddies in the family.
Oh.
Which Ed?
I know he was restricted.
Yeah.
Oh.
And what was going through your mind in combat?
Dodging the bullets, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Did you see any combat?
Hmm?
Were you in any combat?
Much combat.
Yeah.
The only thing is, whereas, my father said, back to that again, if if you're going in, joining up in the infantry, he says, I'll shoot you right now. And this is with the boys in the bank. I went into the same 7th Regiment as them on Park Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's right.
so I told him it was supposed to be Coast Artillery, then it was changed to a different weapon, 40 millimeters and the 50 caliber machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Let me see. What'd you talk about with your friends on the ships or on any of the islands?
talk about?
Yeah, what'd you talk about to pass time?
All they did on the ship was gamble.
Oh yeah.
There was one man there, a sergeant in another outfit. He won about $10,000 in playing cards and shooting crap. So he hired you as another soldier to stay awake all night and protect his money. That's happened in some cases. Yeah. That question again was.
How do you feel? How do you feel towards the enemy today? Towards like Japanese?
Today?
Yeah.
I have nothing against them. The whole country doesn't, because we're buying all their materials and everything else, and it's just like what we did with Germany. We put all their stuff, Lend-Lease program and everything else. So, the few Japanese that I was really involved in close up was after bringing my gun in, have a Sherman tank pull my gun in position wherever the lieutenant wanted it.
Yeah.
And getting it in position, you see a Jap here, a Jap there. The Marines and the 7th Regiment infantry is up ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some terrible sights. You see them Japs laying there. And whenever there was a Marine or one of our boys, I'd call down to CP, the command post down by the beach. Because I might have been up on a hill somewhere with the gun. And tell them about the dead ones. And sure enough, they bring a truck up and bring them down to the beach. And we had Jap prisons down there near the command post. And I guess it was the CBs or whatever had this tremendous bulldozer. And they bulldozed up from the dirt, from the water, where the water ordinarily wouldn't reach that far. And they bulldozed it, a big swath. And the Jap prisoners did the individual digging for another burial.
Wow.
One soldier here, one his, our soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put the dog tags on. Temporary cemetery, you might call it.
Like a mass grave almost.
Yeah.
Hmm. What do you think about Truman's decision to use atomic force against Japan?
Oh, that was the greatest thing. I think it was in August, was the last gun fired, at least where I was on the island and all over the Pacific, I guess. And we had heard about the atomic bomb. And I learned later that we can be so thankful that if we had all those men in the Pacific having to go to Japan to attack, we would have lost 1 million troops trying to make a land. And besides it, it's not beaches like on these atolls, you know, sandy beaches. You run up the ramp and the ramp drops and you jump off. And so that was a thankful thing for us. Of course, not bad for the Hiroshima and Nagasaki people, my God. And I was later, I worked in the New York City Police Department for 33 years. And my latter years I worked in the medical division. And I knew a lot of police surgeons. And a few of them had gone over to Japan, and they got these, what they call Hiroshima maidens, girls that were so scarred from the the winds and the atomic,
Yeah.
you know, and so they took him to a hospital in New York City near the Bronx. I think it's Maimonides, and skin grafted them and everything, and sent them back home, which was quite a beautiful thing on our part,
Yeah.
you know.
What was it like?
I know I'm deviating from.
Oh, that's exactly. What was it like operating the guns? What was it like operating the guns? The machine guns?
Operating it?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Well, on board ship it was one thing, and the turrets. All you had to do was turn a switch on, and the hose went right up to the water jacket. The machine gun is just about this thick, right? But there's a water jacket to keep it cool
Oh, yeah.
in case you're firing, and this cold water is trying to keep it from
Overheating.
Anyway, we had the same thing on the islands. We had the 40 millimeter facing out on the water, and behind us I had a man, three men, one pumping. There was a tank we had full of water,
Okay.
and a hose running to the machine gun on a tripod, something like that.
Oh.
And he would just pump away as the machine gun is going. And the only reason we had a machine gun was to protect our rear end.
Oh,
In case we're shooting this way with the big gun, and the rear end would come and attack us. And we, of course, a lot of positions we put barbed wire around them.
Oh, yeah.
And attached to the barbed wire, we took our empty ration cans and put a pebble in it. And during the night, if there was any sound, well, you'd train your gun on it, not the 40 millimeter, of course,
Yep.
but your 45 on your hip or the Garand rifle. You would aim it in that direction. There's no lights, there's no nothing, there's no moon, but you hear a sound.
Yeah.
Think about it, the only thing we did was kill a dog. he made it rustle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I know I'm going to miss a lot of things here, but I hope
That's fine. What did you think of General MacArthur?
Quite a guy, but I'm thankful what Truman did. MacArthur wanted to go right on into Manchuria, and I don't know as the country did. That's asking a lot. They've just been fighting so hard in the Pacific, you know, and then to bring the troops up north in cold country and fighting in Manchuria, North China, that would have been too much. So the next thing you know, he fired MacArthur. You know?
Yeah.
But MacArthur did live for years in the best suite in the Waldorf Astoria, him and his wife and his son. Yeah.
Cool. Where were you when the war ended?
It was on Okinawa. There's another experience. Woo. They have what they call different cadres. This is the 7th Regiment book.
Oh,
And
cool.
I realized that I was in the second longest in the Pacific. Because the man that spoke today didn't reach his first island, Ralph, until his 1944.
Yeah.
Here I am in the service since December 1940. But we were federalized in February of 1941 and then on to Australia.
See?
Which was it? No.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I was on Okinawa, and we get the good word that it's over. And my mind, I can't.
Try something.
God, it's killing me that I can't bring some memories back. Oh, I mentioned cadres. Inasmuch as I was one of the longest in the service in the Pacific, they sent those fellas home first. Well, in come the troop ships to bring a lot of us back home. Maybe me from my gun section and 2 others from another gun section or whatever, with a lot of Marines and everything. And comes this typhoon. I think it was 500,000 men. We were homeless. Tents, you know, these Quonset huts with the aluminum built on a concrete slab?
Yeah.
Those things just ripped right off their foundation. Wow. They weren't made for that. They were made to stay. And so the ships went out 500 miles and didn't come back for a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And then we boarded them, and I went back, came into Fort Lewis, Washington. Same place I left.
Let's see.
Where were you when
Do you recall? Do you remember your feelings when FDR died?
Oh, do I? Wow, that really hit me. In here, if I can only remember, yeah, here it is. I'll tell you how it hit me.
Did you say when FDR died?
Yep.
I remember that day. I was living in Washington, D.C.
I was on the troop ship Henrico. You got to remember now, I'm not replacing the Navy men and the turrets and all. I'm just I'm back with my old outfit.
Yep.
And I'm on the Henrico. Chilton. I had it here somewhere. But anyway, God, what's wrong with my mind? I know what I want to say and I can't say it.
Yes, you were saying that when Roosevelt died, you thought that was the end.
Yeah. Because we're on the troop ship Henrico, and we're headed for Okinawa.
Right.
Not too many nautical miles from Shima. And it says in here, it was written so beautifully, that 8 Kamakazee pilots, that was their only job, was to hit every troop ship or hit every aircraft carrier or anything else. And we got hit direct right in the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
And even here it mentions the Colonel Tanzola that I knew so well. He, in the Guam and in the Philippines, we had the USO come in, you know, and perform. He hit us, sit on a hillside. And he was such a great guy. And he was killed when that medium bomber, what they call a Betty, a medium bomber, hit the bridge and killed about 80-some men, 115 wounded, I think. And the question was...
Those what were your feelings when FDR died?
Yeah. Guess what? It was just at that time that it came over the radio. FDR died. And I thought, my God, we're going to lose the war. It's over. I'm finished. And that's where I was. And then we got to Okinawa finally. But that ship listed about 30 degrees like this. the plumbing, electric, everything on board ship was gone. So there was no feeding on board ship then. So with a ship like this, we had to climb down the rope ladders.
Oh, wow.
And they're dangling, and you're getting into these little craft where the bow drops, you know, when you hit the sand. But instead, we went on to these LSTs, landing ship tank, and they fed us and what have you. And she's looking at old pictures.
Who's in that picture?
That's me there.
That's you?
Yeah. This fella is in Florida. I don't know if he's alive anymore. Running his own executive taxi service or something. You know, you got these elderly people in Florida. Instead of they probably gave up their cars. People that came in here with cars, they've given them up. They just can't handle it anymore. And I'm pretty much near the end of my driving days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, during wartime, during the war, did you have any fond, happy, or pleasant memories from the period?
And although it was wartime in this period, not too many. Just happy when you get a decent meal once in a while. Because everything was eating out of cans and what have you. Yeah.
How was the food? How was the food?
Not bad. But I know in the Philippines, I had a gun position near a little village, and all the people lived on stilts down near the beach. And I'd give them my Hershey bars or whatever I had. Oh, I should say chocolate. I don't know if it's Hershey, but. And this one man, he had this cute little child he was carrying. I said, let me hold this little one. And that would have been a happy time for me, just to hold a little one. No, he says, I would want you to, but her odor, her breath is so bad from starving. So I felt so bad for him, my God. Yeah. And then they climb up a ladder into their so-called house.
Yeah. I forgot to ask, what did you think of Okinawa?
Well, it's a mighty big island compared to some of the others in Leyte Gulf and Guam, and they said Okinawa was the stepping stone to Japan. So close to Japan. Yeah. And you can bet, after I was on Shima and Okinawa, you know, back in the States, you had Rosie the Riveter and everybody else working so hard for building up our armaments and everything. And next thing we know, I see hundreds of our planes heading to Japan. They're going to bomb Tokyo. This is just before the atom bomb. And it was beautiful to watch. B-29s, P-38s, P-47s, escorts, you know, for the big bombers. And that was a happy time.
That's good. That looks like all the questions I have. Oh, do you find it hard to watch documentaries about the war today?
No, I'm a nut for that.
Oh, yeah?
I watch all the documentaries. My kids, my grandkids give me videos of the war.
Oh, yeah?
Some are about the Atlantic Theater of Operations, but I always ask them, if you're going to get me anything, get me the Pacific Theater of Operations.
Oh, yeah.
And there was one instance, good golly, There's a picture in here that, you know that guy, the Major so-and-so, he's always giving Cold War stories on TV. And I had a gun position. This batch of
What grade you in?
12.
11?
12.
12? You'll be a history teacher?
No, probably not.
My grandson's, he's interested in all this. He's 27 now.
I see.
Ernie Pyle was about the greatest war correspondent we had.
Oh, yeah?
He started in Africa with the troops, where she lost her brother in Africa and her younger brother, and then they went into Sicily and Italy and into France and Germany, and he followed, and the troops just loved him. Ernie Pyle. Well, believe this or not, I'm on Shima, and the smallest atoll I was on, and we got 8 guns lined up with 2.5-ton trucks pulling them, and it was such a crescendo of machine gun fire that we just jumped off the guns, because the guns are covered now, and our duffel bags are hanging off the barrel and everything else. We jumped down in a ditch. Thank God there was a ditch, because up in this mountain they were shooting like crazy. Who comes by but Ernie Pyle and a driver, waving, "Hi fellas, hi fellas." A couple of yards up ahead, machine gun. Got him. And reading this now, it says, with his helmet, it just got under the helmet, the bullet came and
Wow.
hit him in the head. And that was the end. And what I wanted to show you was a picture of they're starting to build a monument. First they put down the slab, and I'm still at the gun position with the 40 millimeter, you know, protecting whatever before we get to Okinawa.
Yeah.
And the engineers, I guess, were building that. And when I see this guy, War Stories, I says, if that camera was moved another 10 feet, you'd see my gun sticking into the sky, you know?
Wow.
And every time I see that on the video, I flip my lid. Oh God, it would have been my gun right there.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, here's my block T, varsity baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get him started on that.
No.
Don't get me started on that. But anyway, in here is a picture of me with, as a private,
Oh, yeah?
7th row, privates, Pettersen, Schaefer, blah, 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 blah.
So nice.
And these are very rich young men. I don't know if I mentioned that part. That when I'm in the bank, and these guys are in the 7th Regiment, just up on 65th Street, the big armory. And I had to be interviewed. I don't know if I mentioned it, by the colonel. And because of my Norwegian parentage, in May of 1940, the Germans had won enough in the Low Countries, Czechoslovakia, Albania, what have you. They moved, they wanted to get to Norway, and they have something, I don't know, in the bombs, what they call heavy water, and they manufactured heavy water up in Norway. And the colonel, before he admitted me into the into the regiment. He says, is your family sympathetic to the Quisling? The Quisling is like being a communist in Norway, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Come on in, Germans, come on in. I says, oh, God, no. I says, my father fought in World War I, and he wasn't even a citizen.
Wow.
So I don't think I would turn. So that convinced him.
Yeah.
He was quite a guy. But don't put it in there.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add? Because I don't have any more questions. So, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I had something here that I wanted to. Well, anyway, here it is. I figure I'm 17 to 19, working in the bank, taking the ferry every day from Staten Island to Manhattan, getting to the bank. And there was ominous signs of an imminent war, but I didn't picture it so like I did then, like I do now rather. And these signs were that in the daily news, that's over there, about every month they would put in on the editorial page pictures of battleships, heavy cruisers, submarines of the U.S., the English, and Japan. Who was gaining supremacy of the seas? That alone should maybe tell you something. And this is long before the war, before the Pearl Harbor. But the things were going on in Europe, that's for sure. And I'm in the Army. And talking about the Antarctic. We didn't know we were going to Australia. But we picked up 3,000 engineers in Brooklyn. And cleaned our guns full of cosmoline, as they call it, and we headed through the Narrows, and we had an escort of a few Navy ships. One was the Hornet aircraft carrier.
Okay.
And that took us down into the Gulf of Mexico, and then we went into the Panama Canal, and we went through there. Now you're going down the west coast of South America to get to Australia. You got to remember, the Japs had the Pacific sewed up right after Pearl Harbor. We had nothing out there, nothing to protect us, an ordinary troop ship. So we're down in the Antarctic, and you can even see albatross, these great big birds. And then we went thousands of miles, and we come up through Cook Strait in New Zealand. And by the way, we stopped at the Fiji Islands, and we were able to drop off a few 37 millimeter guns. And of course I had nothing to do with that. And we came into Brisbane, Australia. And I don't know if I should mention it. I had a buddy on board ship. I didn't even know it. Here I am in charge of 4 machine guns on the sun deck, and there's 3,000 men down below, engineers. And it's an MP up there to make sure that all the men are kept down below. And there was a storm coming up. My God, I see the guy, and he's a buddy of mine from a little town in Tottenville, Staten Island. Revis. Couldn't believe it. He said he was going to be assigned to a school in Brisbane, and if I ever get home beforehand, would I let his parents know where he is and how safe he is, you know? So that later did happen, and I finally got home. Maybe he beat me. No, he didn't beat me home. All right, from Brisbane, we went up to a town called Townsville on the east coast of Australia. And these engineers were supposed to get off up there and go a little further north by railroad to Port Moresby area. And the Japs had already blown up a lot of bridges and what have you there.
Well, I'm gonna start this off just for the tape. I'm gonna start this off just for like the actual interview tape. It's recording. It recorded what you said.
I'm not picking it up. When a teenager talks, and I have them in the family.
Yes, it's
I
hard to
can't.
hear.
Oh,
Okay, so can you hear me?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Sam, and I'm with Ed Pettersen. He was in the U.S. Army. He achieved the rank of sergeant. He was in the service from 1940 to 1945, and he was in the Pacific. Ed, what specifically were you trained to do while you were in the Army?
Well, we were trained for anti-aircraft. We had almost a year of training in Camp Stewart, Georgia, for a year on 40 millimeters, 40 mm, and 50 caliber machine gun, water-cooled machine gun. And then of course we had to learn a little bit about jungle training, but that was later. And a gun crew like this here, gun crew, consisted of 17 men. A sergeant, 2 corporals, and about 14 men. This is when we were overseas and when we were training in Georgia. Yeah.
Alright. What were some of the major campaigns you were involved with?
Yeah. Well, the first one was Guam. A lot of casualties there. After that, I had so many experiences there, but you don't want me to go into that.
Go ahead.
Next is the Philippine Islands, Leyte Gulf, Leyte.
Alright.
The Ryukyus, RYU.
It's fine.
Just south of Japan.
Yep. There we go.
No landing there, just firing. Next was IE Shima.
Yeah.
IESHIMA, which was not too many miles away from Okinawa.
Okay.
We were supposedly be there to protect the back door of any involvement on Okinawa. But the Japs might try to do something.
What was it like on Guam?
Huh?
What was the life like on Guam?
Where was it?
No, what was the life like on Guam? What'd you do specifically on Guam?
Very, very hot. And what can I say about it? I can tell you this, that I had my gun position there ready to fire on any Jap planes coming in. And good golly, one day I come by, get back on my gun, and I see this horse being led by a soldier and a rope from here maybe 3 or 4 blocks with the natives blind as a bat. They'd been living in caves for a couple of years.
Wow.
They lived down there, they died down there, they gave birth down there. And after our forward troops secured most of the island, and they came out, and I never saw anything like it. They're just holding on, little children, grandparents, parents, and I'm losing track now. And and I was wondering what happened to them. I know they went into a compound not far from us, a barbed wire compound, and there they sat. I went down the road to see them. And next thing you know, we're picking up our equipment and loading onto a ship again, and we're heading for Leyte Gulf.
Nice. Where were you and what where were you and what went through your mind on December 7th, 1941?
Yeah. I was down in camp in Georgia, just outside Savannah. That's where Camp Stewart is. It's now called Fort Stewart. And I'm pitching a football. We're playing touch tackle, a bunch of us. And geez, next thing I know, I hear radios all over in the tents, what we call pyramidal tents. They're square, and they come to a point. You've seen the canvas come up. You see a mile of them sometimes. But we only had, for our battery, we were Battery E in the 7th Regiment Artillery. I'm in the Army.
Oh. Okay, I'm Sam, and I'm with Ed Pettersen. Okay, I'm Sam.
I'm in the Army.
Oh.
And
Okay, I'm. Okay. Okay, I'm Sam, and I'm with Ed Pettersen. He was in the U.S. Army. He achieved the rank of sergeant. He was in the service from 1940 to 1945, and he was in the Pacific. Ed, what specifically were you trained to do while you were in the Army?
well, we were trained for anti-aircraft. I'm in the Army.
Oh.
And talking about the Antarctic. We didn't know we were going to Australia, but we picked up 3,000 engineers in Brooklyn and cleaned our guns full of cosmoline, as they call it, and we headed through the